When you're in Uganda, it immediately becomes clear why this little East African country has earned the nickname the Pearl of Africa. Home to nearly half of the planet's wild mountain gorillas, as well as roughly 5,000 chimpanzees, there's no doubt that Uganda's great ape-filled tropical rainforests are major carbon sinks, making these habitats a key part of the front lines in the fight against climate change. Rainforests like the ones here in Uganda stabilize climate, host astounding levels of biodiversity, and produce much of the globe's annual rainfall. Without them, well, we'd be in trouble. Serious trouble. Tropical rainforests, or the lungs of our planet, have been leveled and incinerated by mankind in recent history, largely to meet Western demand for beef, soy, palm oil, wood, and cobalt. Just 30 years ago, the fate of mountain gorillas and their precious homes looked grave. Dian Fossey even worried that the species would be extinct come the 21st century, as Congo, Rwanda, and Uganda were plagued with conflict, creating a spike in both poaching and deforestation. However, Fossey would be pleased to know that since 1989, the mountain gorilla population has nearly doubled, and growing steadily. But as global temperatures continue to rise, worsening both drought and desertification, these tropical rainforests have never been more important. Tropical rainforests are a key part in our fight against climate change, as their well-being is now synonymous with our own. We traveled to Uganda to see for ourselves how these ecosystems were faring. Our journey begins in Entebbe. Our friend and driver, Martin, takes us south. Our first stop, Kibale, or as Martin put it, chimp country. The stewards of this lush jungle are the Kibale Park Rangers. The AK-47s slung over their shoulders are not for chimps. Instead, they're a precaution to scare away grumpy forest elephants we may encounter, and, on the off chance, poachers. We meet with Bosco, a Kibale Park Ranger, and just like that, we set off into the jungle in search of our closest living relative, the chimpanzee.
We're looking for chimps.
Like someone. No, vedi.
Thanks to Bosco's keen eye, all of a sudden, chimps. They're in the canopy and all around us. We come across an entire family.
One big reason to why we must protect these chimpanzees is to keep the species and also to use the same species for economic benefits to the communities that live around the forest. Personally, I'm a local person here, so I'm employed because the chimpanzees and the forests and other primates are here.
Yeah.
So even other people who are not working as rangers still benefit. 20% of the park collection as revenue goes back to the communities.
Okay.
So out of the permit sales, 20% of that money must go back to the people. And people who come in here as researchers also stay in the communities, and then they also employ their assistants from the local communities here. The communities around here have known the value of having the chimpanzees protected just because of those benefits. And there are lots of lodges coming up around here where tourists stay. And most of the people working in these lodges are local people. And they know the lodges have come just because of the chimpanzees. So without the chimpanzees, all these infrastructures wouldn't be around.
I see.
So there's a reason for these people to conserve the chimpanzees. Like this forest in particular has not had big issues with encroachment. So much as the main challenge primates and chimpanzees in particular having is habitat loss. for this forest, we are replanting. So we are creating more room for the primates.
I see.
So we've not had big issues with encroachments on this forest. So we are still hopeful that this forest will still be there and it will accommodate more chimpanzees as the population grows. Because the degraded areas are all being replanted with natural trees. So some big hope.
Why this biodiverse jungle, and others like it, benefits people from a scientific perspective should be obvious. I was curious as to how the forest and its inhabitants were benefiting neighboring communities economically. We visited a nearby village, just on the outskirts of the jungle, to find out. This is Judith. Judith is essentially the village's Starbucks, only better. When you need coffee, Judith is who you go to. She showed us her coffee making process. All of her supplies are locally and sustainably harvested.
System of cooking in US. But here, many people in Africa.
Judith has been making coffee for years and has the process down to a science. Judith's coffee, I can confidently say, was the best I'd ever had. We then visited this man, who is known for making banana gin in the village. He too showed us his process. His beverage was certainly stronger than Judith's, but just as good and just as fresh. We then paid a visit to the local medicine man, whose holistic healing methods, courtesy of the forest, can help with everything other than HIV, COVID-19, Ebola, and cancer. We even visited a group of weavers. These women, like the others, utilize their natural surroundings to sustainably weave baskets, bowls, and handicrafts, amongst other things. Conservationists, scientists, researchers, and tourists come to Kibale to see and study chimpanzees. They stay in these communities, where they eat the local people's food, stay in their lodges, and buy their products. This involves locals in conservation, as it gives them an alternative way to make a living, one that doesn't involve logging or poaching. Our journey continues. We head further south, to the Congo border. I've been waiting years for this, to see the windy, impenetrable forest, a jungle so thick and tangled with vines that T-Rex could have walked out, and I'm not sure I'd be that surprised. Like Kibale, Windy is protected by armed rangers. We meet up with Gorith, and she and a small team lead us into the impenetrable forest in hopes of encountering mountain gorillas. Before long, we find them. We've encountered the Mukiza gorilla family, led by the dominant silverback. The Mukiza family is habituated, meaning that they're used to the presence of humans. So long as we maintain a distance, we're perfectly safe. Contrary to popular belief, these animals are incredibly gentle.
Mountain gorillas mean a lot to me because, first of all, I got a job because of mountain gorillas, being present in Windy Impenetrable National Park, and I'm lucky it is a field of my professionalism. And I was lucky to be deployed here as a ranger who takes care of mountain gorillas. When I'm working here, I'm exposed to the whole globe. I meet different faces all over the world, from all over the world. So that one itself is very important.
Yes.
It's kind of prestige to me. I'm glad and I'm happy and proud to be giving out information. Who am I to be working as a ranger guide? Many researchers, VIPs, those other special people end up in my hands. So it's also kind of, I feel I'm somebody who is unique. Every client who comes here, the permit fee we collect from every client, we have 20% that we call revenue sharing, and it is collected for a year, and the whole sum up is given to the communities so that it can help them to increase on their standards of living, to improve and increase on their standards of living. The communities have a committee that has to budget and make sure they do a follow-up to see how that money has been put into use. This money has helped the communities to construct schools for school-going children, and also some part of the money has also been put in projects that some groups of communities, for example, groups of women, they have come together to set up some projects that can improve their standards of living. For example, farming. They have also involved themselves in cultivation, maybe a piggery project, poultry keeping, and among others. When especially these places around the national park may not have better facilities, but the money has been budgeted and some of it has been used to construct some health facilities so that if there is any kind of disease or if someone is sick, you immediately rush to that health facility. The communities around here are being employed, job employment. Some of these people are working as rangers and they are paid salaries, and it's also among the benefits. If it wasn't mountain gorillas, we wouldn't be working from this forest.
I see.
Because the gorillas bring in revenue, and revenue is used to pay salaries for these adjacent communities. There are many, many benefits.
One of the few groups who didn't benefit from Uganda's conservation efforts were the Batwa Pygmies. The Pygmies were once indigenous to Burundi, but were evicted from the jungle with the hope that in doing so, mountain gorillas would be better protected. I'll let Gorith explain the rest.
Way back around 1990, when gorilla habituation started in Burundi Impenetrable National Park, there was eviction of Batwa or Pygmies who used to stay in the forest, and they could survive on hunting animals and gathering of fruits, and also collection of honey. So that could bring in competition for food between those people and animals, especially the primates. Talk about the chimpanzees and gorillas. So as the government, together with Uganda Wildlife Authority, started the conservation issues, they planned to get some land from communities for these pygmies to settle on. That's why they were evicted from the forest, so that we get enough resources for these animals to survive on.
Whether the displacement of the pygmies was ethical is up for debate. Nonetheless, the mountain gorilla population has grown considerably and continues to do so today.
The population is growing up, slow but sure. Over the years, the population was still under the category of critically endangered species. But as time moved on, this population kept on growing, and you know, when the animal is in that category of critically endangered, it means anything small, any slight mistake to harm their lives, they are no more. They come to extinction.
Yeah.
But as the efforts combined from communities and other stakeholders and partners in conservation, together with Uganda Wildlife Authority, we have managed to make sure the population increases. Bwindi Impenetrable National Park before had from 400 to 459.
Wow.
So currently, the population must have increased because since that time, 2019, we have received a number of babies being born every year after the year.
Yeah.
Actually, last year we had a program which was called Baby Boom. There were very many babies that were born, especially COVID time,
Yeah.
2019, 2020. We had a lot of babies being born, and now we know the number must have gone beyond 459. The future is promising because the sensitization programs that are being conducted in communities are all about how to stop completely the illegal collection of resources.
Oh.
Poaching has completely to stop. And it is because of the combined effort of the people I have mentioned. And therefore, that one promises that the future of mountain gorillas in Bwindi is going to be progressing.
Ah